Welcome back.
Yo,
Episode number eight.
eight. Eight is great.
Eight is
Yeah.
great. This is a weird one because we're recording for the second time this week. Ew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Normally you don't get this much Armand and Simon content, but now
Yeah.
you
We're,
will.
we're, we're pushing you to the limits today or the rest of the way. So have fun with
Yep. Yep. Us and our audience of 10.
that.
Hey, but 10 loyal, faithful fans. We love you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Hmm.
So honestly, it's been a slow news week. I think the last episode that we'll have up. So by the time you're listening to this, you'll probably have both episodes to consume from this week. But
Hmm.
it's slow news. Nothing much happened this week, I think. So
Hmm.
instead of talking about the NHL and the league, I think we talked about that extensively over the last 6, 7 weeks. We're going to talk
Hmm.
about ourselves a little bit this episode. And
Hmm.
so I'm going to contextualize this with Dion Phaneuf just fired. He retired last.
Yeah.
So I think this is something I forgot to mention last episode, but honestly, when they announced his retirement, I was like, so two things came to mind. First, I was like, what? I thought he
Hmm.
stopped playing a while ago. And then, well, it turns out he did stop playing a while ago. Then COVID happened. And then a lot of players from the NHL, they use COVID just as like a kind of like a launch pad toward the rest of their lives. So taking a year off because of COVID, not a year, but that much time off from hockey allows you to reflect on things. And I think that's what Dion Phaneuf did. So he retired. But then I was honestly a little surprised that the Leafs catered to his retirement and actually celebrated it as extensively as they did. Like they had a particular news conference for him, they had like press releases, and they had the in game ceremony as well. And then I got to think about it. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm undervaluing Dion Phaneuf's importance to this club. Like he was captain, I think, for 4 years, 3, 4 years, something like that. Do you remember?
Mm, okay, like five or six. Because like
Maybe
2011, he got traded like 2015, 2016. It's like,
like
yeah, it's
4 or 5 years.
5 or 6 years, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So I really started watching hockey like 2011, 2012 onwards. That's when I really
Hmm.
got into it. So almost 10 years now.
Hmm.
Um, but when I started watching was when Dion Phaneuf just became captain. And so he was like a prominent figure on the Leafs. Unfortunately, all Leafs fans hated him, like almost for the entirety of his tenure on the Leafs. I don't think anyone
Hmm.
ever had a fond memory of Dion Phaneuf. I remember some great things that he did. He used to
Hmm.
be great at hitting. He used to be great at body checking. Sometimes he'd score like a bomb from the point, and everyone would be like, "Yeah!"
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think as his tenure went on, the Leafs, with the exception of the 2012-13 season, just like horrible collapses mid-season or 18 wheeler off the cliff, if you remember that quote from Brian Burke.
Hmm.
And Dion
I
Phaneuf was
do.
often at the center of that, along with Phil Kessel. But I think
Hmm.
eventually fans started to view him as like pylon. Everyone called him that after a certain point. And
Hmm.
while I don't disagree, I think he got pretty slow at one point. I think all of Leafs fans got a little too hard on him. Now that I'm reminiscing, like the guy just came in, he was just handed captaincy right away. Like Brian
Hmm.
Burke was like, let's trade for him and let's give him captain right away.
Hmm.
And maybe that was a bad idea.
Hmm.
And considering his character, I don't think Dion Phaneuf was ever a media guy. He never had a news conference where, he had like an amazing quote or you could really see his personality shining through. It seemed like he was always struggling for words, if you remember
Hmm.
his interviews. But like maybe he just wasn't built for it. So I don't know why they rushed to give him the captaincy. Like clearly 3 or 4 years without a captain is okay. We've seen that with this current Leaf squad between 2016 and 2019 or 2018, they had no one. So I guess the GM's thinking at the time was we need a leader right away, and then they chose Dion Phaneuf. Whether or not he was okay as a captain is obviously a matter of discussion, but I think he was okay. He did his job.
Hmm.
Um, I always remember 2013 though. If they won that series against Boston, everything changes. Everything
Hmm.
from that roster. Phil Kessel, Matt Fratton, Joffrey Lupul, Nazem Kadri, James Reimer, Dion Phaneuf, Cody Franzen,
Joe
Cole Moore,
Colburn.
all these names, you would be viewing them in a completely different light. Some of them might be even playing today if they hadn't lost that game.
Yeah, well, maybe. Never
Anyway,
know.
so that's all I have to say about Dion Phaneuf.
Yeah. Um, there's three kind of ways that you can look at Dion Phaneuf, in my opinion. There's Dion Phaneuf the person, there's Dion Phaneuf the hockey player, and there's Dion Phaneuf the leader. So I'm gonna tackle these one by one. Dion Phaneuf as a person, super nice guy. Nothing wrong with Dion Phaneuf as a person. Super nice person in the community, super nice person to the media, to the fans, everything. Dion Phaneuf, the hockey player. Um, Dion Phaneuf was very I don't want to say one. He was very one-dimensional, in my opinion. He was very good at putting up
Yeah.
points. He was very good at scoring goals as a defenseman because, as you mentioned, he had an absolute howitzer of a slap shot. He's probably the hardest slap shot I've seen on the Leafs like ever, at least in my time watching. And I'm sure there's others that there's other players who are stronger. I'm saying just in my timeline and the time I've been watching hockey, he's probably the hardest Leaf I've ever the hardest Leaf, the hardest slap shot that I've watched. Um, he likes to jump up in the play. He was an offensive defenseman. Uh, yeah, like he liked to he liked to hit, didn't like to fight. Understandable. Again, like he liked to hit. He was known for a lot of open ice hits. The one that sticks out to me is the one he hit Stefan DaCosta, the Ottawa Senators, in 2011, 2012 at the beginning of the season, where he just absolutely lit him up at like right at his own blue line. If you have a chance, I'd go back and watch it. It's a thunderous hit. But bottom line is like there's a lot of defensemen I like that nowadays. And where they're very good offensively and they're not very good defensively. That was Dion Phaneuf. But unfortunately, he was the best defenseman in a market where things were terrible, and it was also the biggest media market in the world. The team around and sorry, I'll get to that in a second. And then Dion Phaneuf the person, Dion Phaneuf the leader. Like I think it's difficult for people to judge that side of Dion Phaneuf just because I feel like so much of that you can only judge if you're one of the players on those teams. What I will say is it seemed like a lot of the players in the locker room really like Dion Phaneuf, which doesn't surprise me just based off of the other stuff I said before. He's a really nice person, gets along with other people really well. He's a pretty good offensive defenseman. Like I don't think he's an unlikable leader. Did he have some questionable things in his time as tenure? Sure. Starting with the salute gate, which I'm sure we'll probably get to in a bit. He participated in that. He was the captain of the team who did that. Now, granted, he did come out after and say that he wished he couldn't do it, but that's not how it works, in my opinion. You still did it at the time in the heat of the moment. But look, I think he was a really good player. He's probably one outside of Morgan Riley and some of the other some of the defense we've had recently, like TJ Brody, Jake Muzzin. He was probably one of the best defensemen Leafs have had in the last couple of years. I don't think that's a really that much of a debate, but I just think there was so much pressure on him given the state of the team at the time he was captain. Frequently underwhelming and not meeting expectations. And look, that's just the role of being captain in this market. You're going to be the lightning rod for criticism. You're going to be attracting all the eyes of the media. You're going to be getting asked questions that, frankly, you might not have answers to. But that's just a part of being in one of the biggest hockey markets in the world. I mean, rightly or wrongly, again. But I give him credit because like he dealt with the pressure pretty well. He wasn't someone like he wasn't like a John Tortorella in the media where he'd be super negative and like start picking apart media members. So
Yeah.
I have a pretty positive review of Dion's Phaneuf 10 years of Leaf.
I'm looking at his stats right now. He actually came here in 2009-10 season.
June of I think it was like February 2010 or something
Yeah,
like
when he
that,
got
or
traded from
April
that.
or June, something like that.
I remember when he got traded, everyone was like, wow, this new guy, he's going to be amazing. And he used to hit a ton. He used to hit a ton in his early years. And then I guess slowly that diminished with the game becoming faster as well. I guess his role kind of got more and more niche.
Mm-hmm.
His point totals, I'm just going to quickly run through them on
Mm-hmm.
Toronto. So 26 games in 9-10, he got 10 points. Then the year after, 66 games, 30 points, 82 games, 44 points, 48 games, 28 points, then 31 and 80, 29 and 70 games, 24 and 51 games. So he was like half a point a player on the defensive side of things for the Leafs consistently from the second he entered the squad to the second he left.
And that's not a good team either.
That's not a
That
good
that
team at
that,
all.
that that's the impressive thing. Yep.
Yeah. And it seemed like as soon as he was shipped out of Toronto was when his career kind of derailed. Like I don't think he ever found a home in Ottawa. Even in LA,
Like,
he kind of bounced around a couple years.
mm-hmm.
And then that's it. That was Dion Phaneuf.
Yep.
Um, he never really got back to his 60 points in 82 games that he has as a defenseman in 07-08 in Calgary.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I think he was fine. He was serviceable. One thing I have to say though is the Shanahan era or Shanahan management, they have done an exceptional job at honoring players in the past of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what the fans thought of them, I think since he's come in as the president of the Leafs, he's done a great job at like making sure the past is remembered and honored, and that there's a distinct difference between years prior and what's going on right now. So I remember
Mm-hmm.
when the Matthews era just started, there was a big promo going around the 100th year of the Leafs.
Mm-hmm.
And the end of the video, that particular video I watched was like, let's celebrate the 100 years. And there was a big 100 at the end of the video.
Mm-hmm.
But then that 100 quickly changed to a 001. And like the new era starts
Mm-hmm.
now. And I just
Mm-hmm.
remember like, oh, what a way to kick off the new era of the Toronto Maple Leafs. But at the same time, honoring everything that has been that the franchise has gone through.
Yeah.
So 10 out of 10.
Well, yeah, like so and just to build off that point, um, I remember I think the first year of sorry, like that same year talking about like 100 year of Leafs hockey and like I think that was the same year of like the 100 years of the NHL where they had the
Yep.
like the top 100 players or whatever. The home opener, which I was at, they had a massive sorry that year they retired a bunch of the numbers. So for those of you who don't
Yep.
know, before I think before Lou, before Shanahan, before Dub, like sorry, like partially before Dubas, I think it was like sorry, no, not before Dubas. Dubas in the organization, but sorry, 2016, 2017, I believe the year was the first year after Austin Matthews was actually on the first year Austin Matthews was on the team. They actually officially retired a bunch of numbers. And this is a massive deal for like I'll touch on one in a minute, but like Doug Gilmour number was retired. Like all the players, like the best Leafs in franchise history, Matt Sundin, Borje Salming, Tim Horton, I believe, is up there as well.
Wendell Clark,
Um,
Daryl
Wendell
Sittler.
Clark, yeah, like Daryl Sittler, I'll touch on in a minute. But like all the Leafs legends who never had their numbers really retired, they were honored, not retired. So basically, players could still wear them, but I think it obviously means a lot to have your number retired. And like you see these players like who've won multiple like it's a big deal to players. It is. Um, and then with Daryl Sittler, especially with the way his tenure ended with the Leafs, I think that was just a really positive way for him to kind of look back and be like, okay, like let's kind of like squash whatever beef there is here and let's kind of like move on if that makes sense. And I think, hey, you're right. I think they've done a really good job of honoring their players and hopefully they can continue to do it going forward.
Yeah, I remember that 2016-17 season, the Leafs team, like, from a branding perspective, changed a lot about how they were
Mm-hmm.
viewed. So they
Mm-hmm.
honored a bunch of the players. They had Legends
Mm-hmm.
Row built.
Yep, that's true.
Um,
Yep.
they changed the logo. That was a huge thing.
Yeah. Yep.
And then they had like a breakdown of what the significance of the new logo meant in terms of like the little roots on the Leafs and the
Yeah,
number of points.
that's so cheesy though. I'm sorry. I like part of it's cool. I'm not a huge fan of that anymore. I used to be. That I don't know. It just seems really cheesy. That's all.
Still, I think it's a great. First of all, I think it's a great logo. The old logo is honestly trash. I can't believe we liked it for as long as we did. Like the
Yeah,
box
yeah.
Maple Leaf logo, ew,
Mhm.
so bad.
I'm gonna bring one up to you later. We need to talk about something later. But anyway, so let's continue on your tangent on your Leafs thing.
Yeah, so that season was big. I'm going to quickly mention Salutgate. So for anyone new to hockey, this was the 2014, was it 2014-15?
Yep. hmm
2014-15.
It might have been 15-16.
One
Might
of
have been
those
fifteen
two.
sixteen.
Both were trash. One of those two seasons. The Leafs, I think the game prior to this, they lost 9-2 to the Nashville Predators.
I was at that game.
You were, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
I was at I was at the 9-2 Nashville game.
So you
It
saw
was
someone throw the
2014. It was
jersey.
yeah, it was 2014, 2015. Yep. Okay, so that's good.
Okay, well, that game I think is in the memory of a lot of Leafs fans. It's
Mhm.
hard to forget that game,
hmm
that particular season. And this
hmm
is coming off their like just 2 seasons ago, they went to the Stanley Cup playoffs and Boston Bruins and everything. And so
Oh yeah.
there were, there was some hope around the team. They were like, okay,
hmm
they made the playoffs. Some people say they're good, some people say they're bad. Let's see what happens now. Let's see if this team can actually continue making the playoffs. And
Yeah.
the answer was no. Like we learned that frighteningly through Nashville. The next game after Nashville, though, they won, I think, 5-2 to the Tampa Bay Lightning, if I
Yep.
remember.
Yep.
Wow, I'm remembering all these scores. But after that game, so this is the game directly after the Nashville game. Normally, the players they go to the center of the ice, and at the end of the game, they wave their sticks in the air to thank them for coming back to the arenas after the lockout. I think that was why they started waving their sticks in the air. But they didn't do that for this game. And after some breakdown, I think the media found out that the idea was either from like Kessel or Phaneuf or someone who
It
said
was the players. It was the players. Yep.
the players, and they were like, the fans weren't respecting us in the previous games by throwing like waffles or jerseys onto the
Yeah, I
ice.
forgot about that. Yeah.
And so we're not going to salute back. Basically, their petty way of saying, we don't appreciate your behavior, fans, and we're not going to salute you at the end of the game. Honestly, looking back at it, it's such a small thing. Like it's just a salute. You don't pay to watch the game for the salute. You watch it for the result on the ice. But I can see why people were really pressed about that whole thing. Like, cool that you do it, but why stop? Like, well, what are you trying to say here? And Dion Phaneuf, I think in his news conference from last week on the Leafs, when I think he was asked if he would change anything about what he did in his tenure on the as a Leafs captain, and he said that would be the one thing that he would change. He would not do Salutgate.
What's he gonna say though? Like I kind of like again. I appreciate him saying that kind of, but you did it, and like in this market, like he's not gonna say I wouldn't change it because he's gonna get run out of town if he does that.
Yeah, but I do appreciate him coming, I guess, full circle. Because in the moment, I remember the interviews from each of the players, and they were like, "Oh, we got to do what we got to do. We don't want to salute the fans. We just wanted to change things up. That's it." And then now they're talking about it like more maturely, like they've grown. Like Dion Phaneuf knows that okay, this is stupid.
Yep.
I don't know why we did that.
Yeah. Sorry, just give me a second. I'm pulling something up from the 2013-2014 NHL season. Hold
on. But yeah, it's sad that from that Leafs era, these are the stories that we remember. But there was honestly nothing good that came out of that Leafs squad. Like 2013 haunts me to this day. 2013-14, I remember that season they lost 8 straight games and tumbled out of the playoffs. 14-15 was a disaster, and then you got Salutgate. The season after was Peter Horacek. Oh my God, it's just
wait. Sorry, what'd you say about those? What'd you say about those consecutive losses? What year was that?
I think it was 13-14.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. Okay, so sorry. The reason I bring this up is this idea of Salutgate comes at a time where I've heard Chris Johnson talk about this frequently, but that team hated the fans, those fans hated that rendition of the team. And the reason for that was just overall frustration. Again, like I said before, not meeting expectations. But looking back on it, that wasn't a good hockey team.
No, not at all.
And again, it was awful. Like Phil Kessel was their best player at that time. Phil Kessel was an unbelievable hockey player. Like 30, 40 goals in the bank. Like one of the best goal scorers of the league at the time. But like that was it. And the 13-14 season has a special place in my heart and always will. No, not really.
Okay.
So for those of you who don't know the 13-14 season, This, like most other Leaf efforts, was a monumental collapse, like
Yep.
of epic proportion. Um, the reason I remember this road trip so well is because I was in Switzerland at the beginning of this road trip. It was a very fun trip. I had a lot of fun. I was keeping up with the Leafs. I was like, oh, we're in the playoffs. Cool. We're so far. We'll be fine. We're gonna go to the playoffs once again. And boy, was I wrong. And just for context, this was in March. The Leafs were comfortably in the playoffs in March. Um, so I'm going to go through those losses that Armand was talking about very, very quickly. So the Leafs started on the Death Valley road trip. And for those of you who don't know, Death Valley at the time was known as the Ducks, Sharks, and Kings. 2014, all three of those teams were very good.
Yeah.
That was the year the Kings won the cup again. The Sharks were a powerhouse. That was the Joe Thornton, Logan Couture, Patrick Marleau like Sharks, very good team. And the Anaheim Ducks, and we've talked about the Ducks last episode with how good they were recently with Brian Getzlaf, Ryan Kessler, Corey Perry, Matt Beleskey, Cam Fowler. It goes on and on. The Ducks were a very, very good team. They came out of that trip 2-1, which is massive.
Yeah.
That is huge. Like
Yeah.
to get 4 points out of 6 on that trip, and I think Reimer actually got hurt on the trip too. So you had a win, a loss, and then the last game of that road trip, um, Bernier had to come in because Reimer got hurt. I believe that's how it went. Anyways, you come out 2-1 on that trip. You lose to Washington, lose to Detroit, lose to Tampa Bay, you lose to Montreal, you lose to New Jersey, you lose to St. Louis, Philadelphia, another loss, Detroit, a loss. You beat Calgary, you beat Boston overtime, you beat Winnipeg, you beat Tampa, you beat Florida, you beat Ottawa. You lose 12 of your next 14 games, and they miss the playoffs. Like, and then like the next season, like they were like I don't think they're even like close to making the playoffs.
Nope. Next
And
season
that's
was
what
when, I think 14, 15 was when Randy Carlyle got fired.
yep. Horchak came in, and then Horchak was gone, and they brought him back by Mike Babcock for 15-16. They tanked him, and then the new era started with
Yep.
Matthews, Nylander, everyone. That's what happened. Yeah, like as someone who's been a fan of this team forever, I mean, do I support the jersey throwing? No, absolutely not. I don't get the concept of that. I don't get what the point of that is. It's stupid, it's dumb. Don't do it. If you are, like, give your head a shake, man. Like this, you're like it's like there's no point.
Yeah.
I just think, man, it's not the players' fault that the media is so intense in this market, but I think that's also something you have to keep in mind here when you're playing here. Because again, like there's a lot of fans who just want you to win, even if the team around you is not that great. And that's what that team was like, unfortunately. I mean,
Okay. Can I also say something about that narrative? Okay, so
yeah.
first of all, jersey throwing, dumbest idea in the world. You're not
Yeah.
helping yourself. You're losing your own money, and you're not helping the
Mhm.
team. You think you're gonna make a
It's so
statement by throwing a
stupid.
jersey on the
It's
ice? You're
so
not making any
stupid.
statement.
I don't get it. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
You're wasting everyone's time, and you're stupid. I don't know why you do that. Consider your life choices if you do that. Anyway,
Yeah.
jersey throwing aside, what was I going to talk about? What were you saying just before the
I was talking about the media market and how like the
right?
media market's so intense and
Okay, so I'm so tired of the narrative that Toronto is such a hard. Oh, the media is so tough.
Mhm,
I can't be a leader properly over here.
mhm,
Oh my god, so scared. I don't want Chris Johnson to like make a Sportsnet article about me. No.
mhm.
Okay, there are some markets in the league where there's more media, and
Yep.
that's usually as a result of there being more fans to consume that media. You
Mhm.
have Toronto, you got Montreal. What's another hockey market?
Minnesota maybe, but even
Sure,
Minnesota's
Minnesota.
not that big.
Vancouver, obviously. I think Vancouver is
Oh,
a
okay,
hockey
that's
market.
fine.
Anyway,
Hey,
anyway,
I don't
the
say
examples that I'm
anything.
trying to make are Toronto isn't the only hot hockey market. There is a
Mhm.
lot of media presence over here,
Yep.
but there's a bunch of teams where the fans just want to win. They're starved for winning. Look at the MLB. Look at the NBA. There are teams where the fans are just as on top of the sport and the media is just on top of everything as Toronto is to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Look at the LA Lakers. Do you think that's a market where they're just like, oh, okay, Lakers, who cares about them? No, they want them to win every single year. Look at the New York Yankees. What do you think about when you think of the New York Yankees? Prestige. You think about, wow, it must be an honor to play for the New York Yankees. And the media for the Yankees is wild. And the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah. Baseball media is crazy. Yeah.
Baseball media is crazy. And you never hear about players in the MLB in Boston or New York being like, oh, I don't know about playing for New York. The media is so tough. No. You go to those teams to win because you know that if you win with this team, your life is set. You never have to play another game in your life again if you retire after that championship. Just like the Toronto Maple Leafs. The media might be tough, but you come here to win. If you win, that's everything. That's your life. You have an achievement. Winning with the Toronto Maple Leafs is so much better than winning with any other team in the sport. Might be just my unpopular opinion, but winning on Toronto trumps winning over any other city in the NHL. Don't you want that player?
Yeah. Again, I think there's some players that are like that. Some players don't really feel that way. And I'm gonna give you an example. You mentioned you talking about other sports. That again, I agree with most of that argument. There's a couple. There's one that sticks out in my mind. Earlier this season, the New York Mets went out and got. For those of you who aren't familiar with baseball, I'll try to dumb this down. I'll try to make it like as relatable as possible. The New York Mets, who were basically the New York Mets got a new owner at the beginning of last season. This was someone who said they were going to come in, they're going to spend a lot of money, they're going to take back New York. They were going to be the best team in New York. And spoiler alert, they were not. They paid their star shortstop they got in the offseason a lot of money. And they went out and got another player at the trade deadline who was good friends with the team's best player. He was super electric, super flamboyant. For those of you who've watched the Blue Jays before, it's basically like Marcus Stroman. I'm talking about Javier Baez. Javier Baez went over to the Mets partway through the season at the trade deadline, and like everyone was talking about, oh, such a good trade. It's going to get along with Francisco Lindor so well, and they weren't doing well. The Mets were the Mets they didn't have a good season, and the fans knew it, and they were promised that they were going to do well. So what did they do? They started booing their players at the plate every time something bad would happen. And sound familiar? It should, because that's basically what happened with the Leafs. And so what did they do? Javier Baez started putting his thumb down to the fans, basically booing the fans. And that's because the market. My main point here is that there's markets like the Lakers, like the Yankees, like the Dallas Cowboys in football, and maybe even the Raiders in football. The Raiders are also one of the more popular, bigger media markets in the NFL. There's obviously there are periods of time with these franchises where stuff like this happens, and thankfully for the Leafs, we haven't really had anything like that recently. Why? Because winning fixes everything. And I think that's why we haven't had anything like that recently. Back in 2011, 2012, for the last couple of years, those years, they had nothing but losing. And losing is toxic, losing is cancerous. It spreads like wildfire. And hey, it's understandable to me why that team in that era was so toxic, because everything around it was just so negative. And I think that extends to why people describe it as a media issue, because what do you see? Post-game interviews, players get asked questions, they're fed up, and they lash out, and people view it, oh, it's because the media is too harsh on them. I'm not blaming one or the other side. I'm just saying I just think it happens in every sport. It just may not be there all the time.
Do you remember when Phil Kessel got mad at that one reporter? I forgot which season it was and which reporter it was. This is near the end of Phil Kessel's time ago.
Yeah. Someone said he was uncoachable.
Yeah.
Um.
And then Phil Kessel
Uh.
was like this guy's
This
such an
guy.
idiot.
Yeah. This guy's such an idiot. They. Yes. Who was it? Um.
I don't remember.
I'm looking up right now. Anyways, I don't know. Dave Feschuk. That's who it was. Feschuk writes for the Toronto Star. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's Dave Feschuk. That's who it was. Yeah.
They're okay. Granted, Toronto does have a lot of shitty writers. I'm just gonna say it right here. Steve Simmons.
Steve Simmons.
I hate him so much.
Yes.
I'm so happy you said that name.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that guy has a track record, has a streak of just horrible article after another.
Mhm.
I have never found any Steve Simmons article to be good.
Mm-mm.
They're all so bad.
Mhm.
And I get it. I think he's doing it on purpose. I think he knows
Sorry.
that if he has a really shitty article, like
Mhm.
all his articles lead off with like the negative slant. Like, for example, John Tavares, shit
Mhm.
player. He was the one who started that after he came to the Leafs. And John Tavares, since he's been traded to the Leafs, since he signed with the Leafs, has been nothing short of spectacular. But Steve Simmons has been the one who's planted the seed in some Leafs fans' brains, that makes them think like, oh, okay, maybe his point total is declining, his foot speed's declining.
Mhm.
And Steve Simmons is the only guy to bring that shit up.
Yeah.
And he's racist as well. But
I'm trying to think here. Sorry. Steve Simmons articles aren't necessarily bad, but they're controversial. I think that's the
controversial,
word you're
yes,
looking for.
that's the word.
Like it's just, I believe he had a questionable headline after game one of the Leafs Habs series when Tavares went down. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it seems like every time there's something like that happens, Steve Simmons is right in the middle of it. And like, again, I'm not gonna touch on that. I just think he's a controversial writer. There's reasons why he does it. I get it. Do I think it's ethical and do I think he should be doing it? No, but it's just part of his way to expand his career, which I mean, if he wants to do that, fine. But I think there's got to be better ways to do it. So
It's I remember one time, I'm pretty sure this was on the Tavares when he got injured against Montreal last season.
Yeah.
He said something, and then I remember going on Twitter, and then I commented because on Twitter he posted something, and then all these fans were just shitting on him in the comments. And I think the comment that I mentioned was like, "Hey guys, don't worry, he's just joking. He's not being serious. Come on, guys."
Yeah.
That's the way I want to choose to look at every Steve Simmons article from now on. Like, okay, you don't actually mean this.
Yeah.
You're saying the dumbest shit ever. You don't mean this. Come on.
Yeah.
Whatever. It floats some Leafs fans' boats. Does not float mine.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a fun tangent.
Yeah. Like. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I just looked it up. I regret not looking it up. Oh my God. It was the Toronto Sun, which I believe is the one that Steve Simmons writes for. And this isn't necessarily a Steve Simmons thing. This is just a Toronto Sun thing, which is why I don't really fuck with the Toronto Sun. I'm like a lot of people fuck with Toronto Sun. And if anyone is on Leafs Twitter and anyone who has a pretty good memory, you'll remember this headline because this was all over Twitter. This was absolutely disgusting. Toronto Sun in big black letters. Ooh, like they pop off the page. It says Captain Crunched.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. John Tavares stretches off and Maple Leafs costly game one loss to Canadians. And like the picture they have on the cover is him basically being held up by two team trainers, team doctor. Like there's blood coming down his face. Like he's very clearly like just out of it. But yeah, that's what the Toronto Sun does. That's what they believe in. It's too bad, but yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah, basically, unfortunately, yeah.
The one thing I want to talk about before we jump into Simon Says Again
my favorite
is I think even though these seasons of the Leafs dating back to 2011 all the way to now 10 years later, horrible, there have been some bright spots. I think the 2016-17 season was probably my favorite just because from start to finish we had no expectations. That we knew the Leafs was going to be bad, but they made the playoffs. And then they
That's
went
an
six
interesting
games,
pick.
5 overtimes against the Washington Capitals.
That was
And
16-17, not 15-16.
yeah, 16-17. And
Mm-hmm.
then,
Yeah,
we
okay.
fell in love with the Leafs
That was
again.
my pick as well. That was my pick as well. Yeah. That season was so much fun. Like
Yes.
when we got Austin Matthews when the Leafs got Austin Matthews, I'm saying as if I'm like a team member of the team, but no, screw that. When we got Austin Matthews, it was exciting. It was like, man, this is unreal. We got a first line center, or sorry, hopefully he's going to develop into a first line center. Let's see how he does. Because again, I have seen Neil Yakupov go first overall, and they were like, oh, he's going to be
Yeah.
next Steven Stamkos. Didn't work out. He's currently in KHL right now, so yeah. But that first game, oh, that I was just in awe. But yeah,
Yeah.
that whole season was just so unreal. Like
Amazing.
just like you said, no expectations whatsoever. Um,
I
yeah,
remember seeing that game, the first Austin Matthews game. I think I cried.
I was like jumping around the house. I remember that. I remember like
I was so happy.
I was like, holy fucking shit, this guy's 4 goals.
Yeah. And then it was so amazing. Like you saw his parents in the stands as well, and they were crying and like,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah. Then they lost. They lost in
And then
overtime.
they lost. Oh.
Kyle Turris, baby. But anyways, that team was so much fun to watch. Oh my god. Now, granted, I on paper, I actually like the players on the team we have now more than back then. I
100%.
I love Nylander, Marner, Matthews, but I love Tavares. I love Wayne Simmons. I got my Wayne Simmons jersey on. I got my
Sick.
Wayne Train jersey on.
Scarborough.
Yeah, sure. I don't live in Scarborough, but cool. Like just I don't know. I think the team has a lot of likable characters right now. They
Yeah.
have been for a while. So I mean, oh Kyle Clifford's back tonight, everyone. I
Oh
think
yeah.
he's up with the team right now. We didn't really talk about the Kyle Clifford trade. I'm sure we can see that for a future episode. But
Yeah.
basically, Kyle Clifford's basically traded for nothing, and now he's back with the team. So that's great.
We'll talk about
Um,
it on Monday.
yeah,
But
yeah.
the thing I wanted to say, so just one
Mhm,
last sentence here, is
mhm.
that we've seen a lot of shit over the last decade from the Leafs, but it's the hope that always gets you. It's like you always think,
No, it's the passion. The
uh,
passion unites us all.
you
Yeah.
always think like, okay, if this has to be the last collapse, right? Like they can't get
Well,
worse than this. That's what keeps us going. It's the idea that it can't get worse than this, and somehow it has, but somehow it hasn't at the same time.
mhm.
Every single amazing Leafs moment of the last 10 years has been tainted. When they went 4-1 up against the Boston Bruins,
Can we not bring this up,
tainted. I
please?
won't bring it up. Austin Matthews, 4 goals, first game, tainted. They lost that. They came back in remarkable fashion against Columbus. I think they went up, they were down 3-0, scored 3 goals in the last 5-6 minutes of the game. They lost that series. Everyone thought, oh, they had the momentum to win that game against Columbus. And the next one, they lost that.
Yep.
Montreal.
God. Yeah.
Anyway, we're stuck as Leafs fans. Probably anyone listening to this podcast right now is a good chance you're a Leafs fan as well. Welcome to the crew. We're in it for the long haul, whether they win or lose. Okay.
Yeah. Kind of.
I'm going to do one Simon Says before we wrap up here. And this Simon Says is going to be on NHL attendance. So.
Oh, fuck off. Okay, cool. Okay, fine. Let's do it.
I love how every single topic I bring up, you're like, oh, fuck off.
Okay, this one's outrageous. NHL attendance. Okay. You know what?
Okay.
I've seen some photos, so I got some ballpark answers for for one side of the spectrum, not the other, but that's okay.
So to provide some context here, 2019-20 was the last full season of the full quote unquote season of the NHL when they had proper fans in the stands and attendance that they could actually base metrics off of. 2019-20 obviously was played with the pandemic, following season, bubble, and then now here we are. But we're now comparing the attendance figures of this season compared to 2 seasons ago. And there's an obvious trend. I'm not going to talk about COVID yet, but economically, a lot of people are reconsidering their life choices after the last 2 years in lockdown.
Understandable.
There's a lot of like political things as well. I'm sure the Chicago Blackhawks stuff doesn't help. That might be driving away fans as well. But obviously, the number one factor is COVID. Like people are still a little worried about going into an arena with 20, 25,000 people going across the border as well. So this season, across the NHL, across almost every single team, numbers are down. And what I want to get your guess on, Simon, is Canadian teams wise. So the 7 that we have in Canada, what do you think 1 through 7 are this season? And let me scroll up here. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to do this. 2019-20. So this is pre-pandemic. I want you to give me your 1 through 7, and then your 2021-22. So this season, 1 through 7.
Oh man.
So you're just going to give me 1 through 7, and I'm not going to say yes or no until you finish your 2 lists.
Hold on, let me quickly just pull up the standings so I have all the teams. I know it's gonna sound stupid. I want to make sure I have all of them so I don't so it's a bit more organized.
Yep.
Okay, so I know Winnipeg has always had a very I think just like mathematically wise, like their stadium is smaller, and I know it's a very small. I think it's actually a pretty small town or city. It's a city. That's not a town. I don't know. Winnipeg 7. Give
for 2019-20.
Yeah.
Okay.
Winnipeg. 2019, 2020. Okay, so let's see. Who was sucking back then? I'll go Winnipeg. I'll go Ottawa. I will go. Oh man, that's tough. Give me Calgary. Give me Vancouver, Edmonton, Toronto, Montreal.
Okay, and then this season.
Oh man. Okay, so again, I'll go Winnipeg again. Yeah, Winnipeg. Think. Winnipeg. I'll go Vancouver. Winnipeg, Vancouver. So no, sorry, Winnipeg, Ottawa. Sorry, I thought Ottawa. Winnipeg, Ottawa, Vancouver, and then the 2 Alberta teams and the two original 6 teams. Give me. I'm pretty sure Montreal and Toronto are near the top, so I'll take Calgary, Edmonton, Toronto, Montreal. I think Montreal's historically had a way better attendance rate than most places.
All right. Okay. So now I'm going to quickly double check whether you got any of these right.
Oh no.
Let's see. So 2019-20, wrong.
Oh shit.
See, you got Toronto right, so that's 1.
Yes.
Vancouver, you got that right positionally. Calgary. Yes. Okay, you got 3 for 7 for 2019-20.
I will take that. 3 for 7.
For this season, you've got
0.
Yeah, you got 0.
Oh my god, that's okay. Not 0 for 3 for 14. I'll take that.
But that's okay, because looking at these standings, I would have been surprised as well. 2019-20. So I'm going to give you a reverse order from what you did. So you did worst to best. I'm going to go best to worst.
Okay.
2019-20, Winnipeg, best.
Oh, fuck. All right, cool.
I have no idea why. I'm looking at the standings right now. This is from ESPN attendance report, and they were at 108.2% capacity in their games in that season. I remember that season. I think they were competing for a playoff spot. I know Winnipeg, that ownership group, has been trying to grow popularity in the city. At the same time, though, we have to look at Winnipeg with a grain of salt because they have a very small stadium. So them selling out at 108% could just mean. Even if they sell out 108%, that's probably way less than what Toronto gets at 90%. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So, Winnipeg number 1, then Toronto 2, Montreal 3, Vancouver 4, Calgary 5, Edmonton 6, and Ottawa 7. This was 2019-20. Ottawa had a league worst, so 31st in the league,
Yeah, I pulled it up right now.
65.9%
Oh my
attendance.
god,
Sorry,
that's crazy.
not attendance, tickets sold. I have to
Okay,
make
true.
that clarification here. The number of
Right,
tickets
right, right,
sold
right, right, right,
does
right,
not
right.
indicate the number of fans that will be in the stands.
Mhm,
Usually, every single game in the NHL is sold more than how many fans actually come in.
mhm.
And so I remember going to I seen like an Ottawa game one day, and they were like, "Oh, there was like 70% of the stadium was sold out this day, but there was only like 12,000 people in the stands less."
Yeah,
So these numbers are higher usually than the number of people that actually come in and watch the game.
yep.
Ottawa was worst that season. Um, and then Edmonton, Calgary were second and third worst. 21-22. So this season, Toronto's number one, and then
Okay.
Vancouver,
Really interesting. In Vancouver. Oh my god. Okay.
and then Montreal,
Right. Not surprising.
and then Winnipeg,
Winnipeg.
and then
Okay.
Edmonton, then Calgary, then Vancouver. Sorry, then Ottawa.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Ottawa is still
Ottawa.
worst. And in fact,
Whoa. Yeah. Okay.
Ottawa got worse over the last two seasons. Now they're only at 60% tickets sold. That's so bad. Ooh.
That 59. That ain't even at 60. 59.3. Oh my god.
This is from
Oh my god. Buffalo's at 41%. Oh my
Buffalo is at 41%.
god. Oh my
But look, I think even Toronto this season has not been selling out games at 100%.
Nope. Mm, yep.
And that was a little surprising to me, but now I understand that. I've researched this a little bit more. Even the Leafs games that I've been to, sorry, the Leaf game that I've been to this season, there were a lot of seats that were just not filled.
Mhm.
And people are worried about the situation, like I mentioned, and it's driving down numbers. The situation with each of these teams, too, is causing an issue. Like Montreal, 91%. That's
Mhm.
horrible for Montreal standards, but the team is
Yep.
also garbage. Ottawa, so bad, but the team is also flaming hot garbage.
Yep.
And their stadium is still in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
But it is what it is. Buffalo, oh my God. They're selling out less than half of their tickets.
Yeah.
We should go one
Yeah.
day. Just buy out.
Buffalo.
Yeah.
Hey yo, man, I'm down, bro. I'm down to go to Buffalo. I've been trying to go.
I bet the tickets would be so cheap for a Leafs game
I might go on Monday actually. Me and my friend might go see the Kraken.
in Buffalo. Oh, okay, okay. I thought you meant like going to Seattle. What?
No, no. I'm trying to go to Buffalo.
Do it, do it.
Actually, we should go take a podcast trip to see the Leafs in Buffalo.
Ooh,
I'm
I'd
checking
be
the
so
schedule.
down.
I'm checking the schedule right now. Let's see. Tickets as low as $20. Oh my god, could you imagine? Oh my
$20?
god. Yeah, tickets. Okay, so it's a Wednesday, November 24th. That's tonight. Okay, maybe that's why. But playing the Boston Bruins, 7 o'clock. Tickets as low as $21. So
I
yeah.
remember seeing. I went to the Boston versus Leafs game a couple weekends ago. That was on a
Mhm,
Saturday night against Boston, and I thought my $140 ticket price for the
mhm.
300 section was pretty good.
Yeah.
But now looking at this $20 ticket, I'm like, wow.
Well, actually, now that I think about it, I think the other game that they play in Buffalo is actually in Hamilton.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Heritage Classic.
So they
Yeah.
they don't play anymore in Buffalo this
I don't
season.
think so. I don't think so. I think it's basically just the Heritage Classic in March. March 13th, I think is the day. Yeah, March 13th. Yeah, so it's in Hamilton. And somehow it's a Buffalo home game, which I don't understand, but
You are
that's okay.
right. Yeah.
Well, I'm hopefully gonna go to that, so we'll see.
Oh, me too. Yeah. Okay. So
Well,
let's
we
wrap.
rambled. Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
wrap there. I'm gonna ask you one question of the day. Predict the score of the Leafs games tonight versus the Kings. Keep in mind that the Leafs got slapped 5-1 last time against the Kings.
5-1. Oh my god. Who we got in that? Is it Soupy? Yeah, it's got to be Soup because they gave Wall the Islanders. So everyone's back. Matthews is back. He's been on a bit of a tear. I'll take the Leafs 4-2,
4 to
maybe
2.
5-2 with an empty netter.
I'll go 3-1.
Interesting. Okay. I don't. Yeah. Again, I'm actually. Man, I have an 8 a.m. class tomorrow, bro. Like, I fucking hate these 10:30 games. I hate it.
Well, I don't envy you at all.
I might just not go and just watch it the day after. Oopsies.
Okay.
Anyways, that's all we got. And yeah, if you haven't already, subscribe to the Spotify or the Apple Music or the Google Podcast or the whatever you listen on podcasts on. We should be on there. And yeah, follow our Twitter, follow our Instagram for all of our updates and to stay up to date with the pod. And we will be back on Monday.
Yep. See you later.
Yes, sir.